What's up, everybody? Welcome to a brand new episode of Ahsoka Breaking the Jedi. Actually, this is the final episode for Ahsoka Breaking the Jedi. Before we move on to Loki, we're going to be reviewing Loki. I forgot what title was it. I had a title for the Loki already because this is technically season 2. I did one with Lewis. This one's going to be something else. I forgot what it's called. It's on our YouTube channel. You can find it there. But yes, we're gonna be doing Loki after this. How many episodes Loki has? 6?
I think it's 6.
A 6-week part episode of Loki. We're gonna be breaking down Loki every week for you guys, so make sure you stay tuned for that. Excuse me, I just had to cough there. So today, what we're doing is that we're gonna review the whole series itself as a whole, which doesn't go well when after you watch Loki and then you're gonna do a whole series review of Ahsoka, because the first episode of Loki compared to the whole series of Ahsoka, it doesn't even compare. But okay, so let's talk about this. Let's talk about this, man. Let's talk about Ahsoka, the whole series itself. Which is not going to be a popular opinion to a lot of Star Wars fans, because a lot of them are too blinded by episode 5 and a 30-second view of Anakin Skywalker of episode 8. A lot of people are too blinded by it, but you gotta have to look at it from our perspective, and you gotta have to look at it from the series perspective itself before you start saying like, oh, you guys don't know what you're talking about. Because if you actually look at all of our reviews and our weekly reviews in the past 7 weeks, we were more accurate than any other review out there. And I've heard plenty of them already. Okay, I've heard plenty of the reviews for Ahsoka. We are a lot more accurate and we're a lot more detailed on what we were saying, and we can back it up too as well. So before you guys say that we don't know what we're talking about, go fuck yourself. So I don't mean that, but I'm just saying, just listen to what we have to say. Okay. So obviously you guys already know my stand on it. Episode 6, 7, and 8 ruined the whole series itself for me. But analyzing it as a whole, episode 1 was okay. Episode 2 was all right. Episode 3 was somewhat up there, and then it fell off in episode 4, but then picked up in episode 5, and it just went downhill after episode 5. That's why for me, I'm not a big fan of Ahsoka. For me, if I was to rate it out of 10, I would give Ahsoka a 5, 4.5 out of 10, right? Just because the writing is very basic. This could have been a longer series. I wouldn't mind having a 10-week, fucking 12-week Ahsoka. Do a 12-week Ahsoka, just as like if I had to pay Disney Plus for 12 weeks, I would just pay for Ahsoka, as long as it was well written and there was a conclusion and a beginning and middle and the end. But this whole series did not have an ending, nor did it have any beginnings, unless you are a fan of Rebels, right? So you gotta have to account for the fact that if you're brand new to the series and you're a brand new fan of Ahsoka, you're completely fucking lost, right? You're completely fucking lost on what's happening. You have no idea what's going on, because they did say that this is technically Rebels season 4 or 5, around there. So you're not catering to the newer viewers. All you're doing is that, hey, watch Rebels first for you to understand Ahsoka. Why do I have to watch Rebels first in order for me to watch Ahsoka? Does that make sense? Like, it should be just jump in and be like, this is amazing. I want to see the other ones too as well. Like, if you were to look at Obi-Wan, you don't have to know who Obi-Wan is. You don't have to watch the other Star Wars itself. If you isolate Obi-Wan as a standalone series, you would know that this guy used to be important, so important that a senator is reaching out to him because of his kidnapped kid. Literally, if you look at Obi-Wan as a whole, it looks like an 80s action movie. Do you know what I mean? A retired cop or a retired army vet called into action again to rescue somebody. Do you know what I mean? Like that's what it looks like,
Yeah, it
right?
has
That was the feel. So you don't have to actually watch all the other Star Wars. You can jump in Obi-Wan and you can catch on to what's happening. That he was somewhat very important enough that a senator is asking for his help, important enough that even the antagonists somewhat fear him and somewhat know his reputation. It's literally a goddamn fucking Steven Seagal 80s type movie, like Under Siege kind of shit. You know what I mean? Like if you've seen Under Siege, he's a cook at this fucking Navy SEAL, but he used to be an ex, like fucking Navy SEAL kind of thing. No, it has that 80s feel to it, right? So this Ahsoka, on the other hand, it didn't have any feel whatsoever. You have to actually watch Rebels first in order to understand who Ahsoka is. If you were brand new and you see this and you saw this series, the first thing you're gonna think about is, well, it's a big deal. A lot of people talking about it. Let me take a look at it. And then you watch episode 1, you're gonna be completely fucking lost. Like, why is this person such a big deal? Even for a lot of people who has seen Rebels are still kind of baffled on why Thrawn is so important. And I've expressed this on episode 3 and episode 6 or episode 5 of our review that I said that Thrawn needs to be shown as a great threat, right? I said that you gotta have to go through the savage Thrawn and the comic books and all that stuff in order to present him as a real threat because you know he just doesn't look like a threat. Not until like episode 6 that we saw that he is a great threat, but more of a calculated person, and that's what I said, right? Um, but if you're looking at, as we're reviewing this as a whole, no, that's why I said it's a 4.5 or 5 out of 10. It just doesn't captivate all audiences, right?
yeah, I
It
agree.
doesn't it doesn't captivate all audiences. There's a lot more question in the end than there is any answers, right? Because now, like I said before, Thrawn is out there and all that stuff. He is on the main galaxy, which is the George Lucas galaxy, right? And I said this and I've expressed this many, many times over, and I'm gonna fucking say it again. It it's a complete moot point right now for us to watch what happens in the movie that they're gonna be doing, which is Heir to the Empire, right? It,
Basically,
it's going to be a moot point because anything beyond this point, they were not mentioned, nor are they were never mentioned or shown in episodes 7, 8, and 9. Like I said that many, many times. The only time that you've only a slight uh um mention of Ahsoka was when Rey was about to be defeated by the Emperor in episode 9, right?
yeah, and you can hear
You,
her voice, but
you hear
that's the
you hear
animated voice.
yeah, it's an animated voice. You hear everyone's voices. So that basically tells us that she already passed away. That I said this before, Nate. Everybody must die. So now, if we were to watch the movie, yeah, we all know they're gonna die at that one point. They're gonna eliminate the whole universe in order for 7, 8, and 9 to make sense. I said that many, many times. They have to kill them all in order to make sense. Because now we all know that if we're gonna watch the movie, we know for a fact that they're gonna die in that movie. Do you know what I mean? They have to. Like there is no going back to it. And we were talking about like, oh, they want to do an Anakin Skywalker kind of movie, and then we touched on how they can do about doing that, but then apparently they're gonna do like no, not they're gonna do, but there's like people making rumors that they're gonna do a live action Clone Wars. Here's the thing: people who make those rumors that live action Clone Wars does not know the value of money because of how long Clone Wars is and Rebels. Like you have to fork up like what Avatar money to it.
More than that.
More than that. So, um, but that's my rant on it. So, what about your rant on it?
Um, like I said, you gave your 4.5, maybe even 5 review. After thinking about it,
On a good day, yeah.
on a good day,
On a good day.
I'm still probably gonna give it a solid 7. Um, Even though like I've tried to like think about like maybe like maybe 6.5, maybe 7.5. No, I think sevens are perfect medium for me. Um, for me, episodes 1 and 2 I really enjoyed. 3 not so much. 4 and 5 I enjoyed, and then really the rest was kind of meh.
It was.
Episode 8, I didn't mind the action in it, but like I said, time and time again, I felt John Williams' score would have hit a lot harder for almost every scene in this series. It would have been so much better to have his score.
Hey, like I said, Nate, like after episode 8, I was like, if I would have if I were a time traveler and I fucking knew this is how this series is gonna end, I would travel back in time before they made the series and be like, listen, man, this series fucking sucks. Just put some John Williams shit in there and you'll be fine, man. I was against what you were saying, but after seeing how the series ends, fuck man, put anything Star Wars esque like from the original timeline, anything at all just to make this thing pop, you know what I mean?
Like the closest thing we got a few subtle hints of like the Darth Vader, or yeah, like the Darth Vader theme, and I think there was like another theme that they still kind of like a little bit touched on, but the rest was like all
cp
made.
cp3po when I think it was the Princess Leia scene,
Oh yeah.
no, the Princess Leia theme.
Well, there's that, and then there's another one. I think it was towards like I think it was in episode 8. I can't remember, but it was I don't know. It wasn't enough. Not enough John Williams. You need to sprinkle it on there a little bit more.
Well,
Um,
because it sucked though. Because I mean, like if the series had an ending and it was an amazing series, we would not have this agreement. I would literally defy everything that you would say and say that this show stand alone by itself and it's fine without it.
well,
But
think
now that but
in my
now it but now it ended the way that it ended. I'm like, I fully fucking agree with you. They should have just they should have sprinkled in, like you said, the John Williams shit in there.
in my opinion, this show really doesn't stand on its own, mainly because it's a sequel to Rebels, and in a way, a sequel to Clone Wars as well, in a way, but more or less Rebels. And
Yeah.
I just feel like aside from the John Williams score not being there, it was an Ahsoka named show, titled show, but
Mhm.
there was not a lot of Ahsoka in it.
No, I mean, like I think if we go back to it and count the minutes that she's in on it, it's probably gonna be less than an hour, man. Probably like 45 minutes tops.
But
30,
I will say,
30.
Rosario Dawson does an excellent job as Ahsoka. I will say that.
Oh yeah. No, I mean, that's undeniable. Like she was the perfect Ahsoka. Everybody knew that thanks to Boss Logic. So I mean, she's the perfect Ahsoka. But I mean, a perfect casting can only go so far. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? It's the
yeah,
same thing as like a perfect script can only go so far if you have horrible casting and
yeah,
horrible director, right?
yeah. Like this had some good writing, and it had bad writing. It had more bad writing than good writing.
It had, yeah. Again, like the episodes 5 is the only thing that really stand out on this. This left a bad taste in my mouth that I almost went back to Disney Plus and turned on Andor episode 2. Almost.
Well,
Almost.
eventually you're going to have to. So that's all right.
I was like, I gotta wash this horrible series with something. Let me put on, and I cannot, man. I can't. The great part is that Loki started on Friday and that washed it all away,
It
man.
was a good episode, but
So
I want us to get us back on program here, and because you haven't seen Andor, you don't know anything about that.
listen,
You need to
like,
get on program.
let,
Just
let
get
me
on
let, let me
program.
let me put it this way, Nate. If I were to give you a scenario, okay? If I were to give you a scenario,
Can I keep it?
yeah. So here's the scenario I'm going to tell you. It'll give you two doors. Okay, I'm going to give you two doors. One door says, if you go through this door, there is going to be a certain death. Okay, a certain
Okay.
death coming your way. Sorry, no, not certain death. There is a 50-50 chance that you would die or live if you go through this door, right? The other door says there is certain death in there for you. Which one would you take?
The 50-50.
Of course, you're gonna take the 50-50. So I am taking the 50-50 and say that I'd rather not watch Andor because uh I know for a fact that I'm not gonna like it. There's a good chance I'm not gonna like it. So I'm gonna take the 50-50 chance and be like, I will never know whether I'm gonna like it or not. But based on what I know and what I've seen in episode one, I'm not gonna go for a certain death. Because why would I go for a certain death when I when I know if the whole series is going to be following the exact same platform, exact same basis as episode one? I'm not going to go for a certain death. I'm going to take my chances. So that's the way I look at it. This one, on the other hand, this was uh this was
Certain
uh
death for you. This was
this was
certain
certain
death.
death. This was certain death, man, because they're like, hey, Ahsoka, like we're gonna present you Ahsoka, but there's two doors. One door, one door is 50-50. It could be bad or it could be a good episode. Or will you take this door and there's certain death? I'll be like, I'm gonna go to certain death because I know for a fact that this show is gonna be great. Nope. Died. Nope.
Hodor.
Died.
Hodor.
Hold on, right? So I would go back in time and tell myself, go with the 50-50. It's like, but I will never know if it's bad or good. Trust me, you would rather not see it and never know the right answer, or go to the certain death part and be like, oh yeah, I'm so confident it's gonna be so good.
Well,
Like,
speaking
no.
about this, have you ever seen the movie Fanboys?
The road trip one?
Yeah,
Yeah,
where they're
I've seen
trying to
that.
stop episode one.
Episode one from being made.
This is kind of like that. It's like at the end of the movie, they're like, "Yeah, this is gonna be awesome." They're like, "What if it
Mhm.
sucks?
Yeah. What if it sucks,
What
right?
if it
Yeah.
sucks?" And then like, yeah, well,
Yeah.
newsflash, Tim, newsflash, episode one, it sucked.
No, it did not sound. It was great. A Fanboys is like a very underrated movie.
And
For
it took 4 years to come out.
Did it really?
They had it filmed, and it took them 4 years to finally get it released.
Shit. That was a very underrated movie, man. And I love that movie. I love Fanboys. Fanboys is like one of those movie that I can watch over and over. But then
See,
again, any raunchy movies nowadays I can watch over and over just because of like how horrible movies nowadays are. So
see, now I wish they would make a sequel to it where it's like the complete opposite. Like, oh, they're trying to stop the movie from getting made, and this time they're like, oh,
yeah.
no, they weren't trying to stop the movie from getting made. They were trying to, what was it?
Mhm.
They were trying to go see the movie so their friend who was dying could see it
Yeah.
or
They want to
whatever.
see it. They want to see it first.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this one it'd be the opposite. They're actually trying to stop episode 7, 8, and 9 from being
Yeah.
made because of how traumatized they
Yeah.
were from episode 1.
I would totally do that movie,
I
man.
think
I
that
would
would be
totally
cool.
I would want to see that movie again. So
Yeah.
uh man, I want to watch Fanboys again, man. That thing's hilarious, man. Kristen Bell was amazing in that movie, man.
She's
Shit.
amazing, period.
Yeah, she's freaking awesome, man. Um, but yeah, no, I mean, I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't know where do we go from here. I mean, obviously this can be a season two, or they're just gonna jump into a movie. Because technically, if they just jump into the movie, there would not be a season two Ahsoka. They would do a final season for the Mandalorian,
And then a movie.
and then picks up on the movie.
All right, so what do you think they're gonna do? Do you think they're gonna do a season 2 of Ahsoka or go right in the Mandalorian 4 then the movie? What do you think?
I think they're gonna go with Mandalorian 4 and then the movie because that's the most sensible thing to do. Mandalorian season 4 ends at him finding out that Ahsoka is stranded in the galaxy, or or Thrawn is in a full-on attack on every single fucking planet, right? Um, man, this is a complete fuck up, man.
See,
This is
this is
complete because now while we're talking about it, it just in real time, I'm just realizing fucking Luke is still there. So that means that he would have known Thrawn would be back. So that means that
well, Luke didn't know
if
who Thrawn was initially.
I know, but what I'm saying is that now that Thrawn is back into the George Lucas galaxy, that means that if they're gonna make the movie, they're gonna have to either you can't recast Mark Hamill. You're gonna have to find someone again that same person who looks exactly like Mark Hamill to be in the movie because you're gonna piss everybody off if he's not in the movie. Do you know what I mean?
They're just gonna do the same thing. They're gonna have the body double, and probably, hopefully, by then they'll have even better CGI for the
Yeah,
face, and they'll just have
yeah,
Mark Hamill do the voice.
yeah.
But
And you're also
that's the
you're
other
also
question. What about Han and Leia?
yeah, because this is because the movie is not a standalone just Mandalorian universe movie. He's back on the George Lucas galaxy. This that means that this is actually a big threat. So that means that Chewie, Han, Lando, everybody have to be back. So technically, if that's the case, then that technically this is episode 7.
Yeah, and this is the problem we're getting into. Disney is kind of trying to do damage control on 7, 8, and 9, but the problem is it's kind of too late.
They're
In my opinion, it's too late. They should have just done this from the beginning.
they're fucking it up even more. It's like you dug yourself a hole, and then by doing Ahsoka, then ending it this way, you're digging yourself an even bigger hole.
Yeah, I
Because
mean,
now,
they
because
don't have the cast anymore. I mean, yeah, though they could recast them, but everybody's gonna be. I mean, me personally would be upset if they recast them. I'd rather have them just CGI and AI the frick out of these people, even though
yeah,
I do get that it's not right, but like for the
yeah,
sake of trying to keep continuity, do it.
because now it doesn't. Because now the script for not just the movie, but the script for episode 7, 8, and 9 is in jeopardy because they ignored Thrawn. If that's the case, because now, okay, keep up with me. Just try to keep
I'm
up with me
paying
here,
attention. I'm
okay?
paying attention.
Because if they have Han Solo, Leia, Chewie, and all the gang from the original Star Wars storyline in the movie, that will make the movie itself make sense because they're all still surviving within that universe, right? Okay,
Mm-hmm.
surviving that universe. But in order for episode 7, 8, and 9, like I said, to make sense, everybody have to die except for
The main
the
people.
the main people from the Star Wars universe, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if that ever happens, that means that the script for 7, 8, and 9 is still jeopardizes 7, 8, and 9. Because now 7, 8, and 9, they were talking about the rebellion and the empire and everything as if it was 35 years ago, right?
Even
But in
though it was more
reality,
30.
30 years ago. But in reality, it wasn't 30. It was like 10 plus years ago because Thrawn came back.
Well, no, Thrawn. Remember, this show takes place about 5, 6 years after Return of the Jedi.
No. I'm talking about okay, after the Return of the Jedi. Okay, so 25 years?
24. We'll say 24 years because
24 years
Luke Luke
before.
Luke disappears 10 years before Episode 7.
So 24 years, 25. Let's just say
So
25.
this will be essentially 24 to, I mean, not 24. This will essentially be 14 to 15 years before Luke disappears.
So, but no, but we're looking at it from episode 7. Is this 15, 20 years before episode 7?
This is 24 years before Episode 7, if
So
I
this is
remember
20.
correctly.
Okay, so 24 years before episode 7, but episode
Now,
7
now I'm not sure. It's either 24 or 29.
because now episode 7 is talking about the empire as if it was like 35 years ago. Well, in
Well,
reality,
the main empire, yes.
yeah,
Thrawn,
I know, but I'm saying that was they're saying that was the Great War, but technically,
because
with
essentially the Great War was the second Death Star battle.
I understand that, but with Thrawn coming back, that's also a great war with everybody. Do you know what I'm saying? Because it
Yeah,
involves everyone in the Star Wars universe.
and they didn't talk about it
And
in
they
7, 8,
never
9.
talked about it in 7, 8, and 9. So that means they just jeopardized 7, 8, and 9 again. So
Well,
by Thrawn coming back to the George Lucas galaxy, you've just fucked up 7, 8, and 9. Where if you kept it in the other galaxy and ended everybody dying there, or just there and ending the show, everyone stuck in that galaxy, you would have never jeopardized 7, 8, and 9 because now the main canon characters would not be involved in the movie that you are planning. You know what I
well,
mean?
well, that just gives Disney more motivation to make a 7, 8, 9 special edition with new scenes added, with new characters, CGI planets, whatever they want to do
This is
because it's
so
Disney, and
this
they're
is
gonna be like George Lucas but worse.
this is so fucked up. They just jeopardized 7, 8, and 9. Like even further. Because I stated before that if everybody doesn't die, they jeopardize 8 and 9 because they were never talked about the character. Now it's even worse because now not only that they're jeopardizing 7, 8, and 9 as a series, they're jeopardizing the storyline and everything else in it. Like that makes no sense.
I mean,
Like even the even the senator, that lady senator, I forgot.
Mon Mothma,
Yeah, even she was in 7, 8, and 9. How do you not mention the Thrawn thing?
she wasn't in 7, 8, and 9.
Are you sure?
Yes,
Someone that looks like her?
she was in the Obi-Wan Kenobi show, and she was in
Oh, that's what I was thinking.
she was in the Andor show. She
Okay. Oh no,
uh
no, but the fleet that that Ezra landed on, that's the fleet where Leia is at, right? No.
Ezra. No, that I guess that was just
It
I
was
don't
like a
know if
book.
Leia was on that, but that was where Hera was at. That was her crew of people, I guess.
It still jeopardizes 7, 8, and 9. This is so fucking messed up. they just they just jeopardized a whole fucking like series. The whole series. They just jeopardized it. What the fuck, man? This show, I feel like just popping Andor episode 2 just to get this taste out of my mouth, man. At least Andor didn't jeopardize anything.
I mean, we already knew where that was going. He's gonna die eventually.
It's just a I know it's just a boring fucking series. Holy shit. Fuck, man, the more I talk about this fucking series, the worse that it gets. The worse that it gets. I don't know, man. I don't know what to tell you, Nate. I don't know what to tell everyone. I don't know what to tell you guys listening to this. I'm watching this too on Nate's YouTube channel, Plot Host Pros. There, I have no, I don't know what to tell you. I do not. I seriously do not know what to tell you. Everything is so fucked up. While you guys are watching or seeing people praising this series, they're not asking the right questions.
I mean,
They're not analyzing it to the T. It's
granted, they still have time to try and make sense of everything that we just saw with either an Ahsoka season 2 or the Mandalorian season 4. I'm saying if they decide to just go a Mandalorian season 4 and then make a movie, it's got to be a long season and the episodes should be lengthy. I would basically my assumption if they only do it the Mandalorian thing, they'll probably
mm,
go half of the show will deal with, Mandalorians and Thrawn coming back, and then the other half will be going to get Ahsoka and them, and then coming back and then prepping for the movie. That's if they only do that. If not, if they do this and then Ahsoka
mm,
season 2,
mm.
I'd say it'd be mostly Mandalorian, and then towards the end you get some Thrawn, and then they get ready to go and somehow find Ahsoka. That'd be it.
This is also jeopardizing the storyline in episode 8 that Leia was training with Luke.
That was 9.
Was it 9?
Yeah,
When they did the
that's
flashback?
that's my. Well, no, because that training that with Luke took place a year after Return of the Jedi.
Still,
That flashback.
or even before it, or
No,
after it.
no, it was a year after.
It was a year after.
I think they made mention of it. Either way, that's my second
It's
least
still
favorite Star Wars
well,
movie.
okay. Well, the birth of Kylo Ren also jeopardizes it a little bit because they can say that Leia's pregnant right now.
Yeah, maybe that's why we don't. Or maybe we kind of like we could probably see Harrison Ford, and then he's like talking to her, and we see like a shadow with her being pregnant at
Mm.
some point. I doubt it though because I think he's not born for another 4 years. I think.
No, I mean like we can assume that he was like 24 years old by that time. No.
No, he was 30, 31 years old in episode 7.
Okay, then he should be like a fucking toddler by now.
At least at least I think. I'm not 100%
No, he can't. No, he
sure.
can't be. He can't be a toddler by now because Luke is still young, and he trained Kylo when he was a teenager,
Yeah,
and he already had a beard by that time.
I have a beard.
No, but like old.
I know.
Like he look old.
Tim, you don't have a beard.
I'm Asian. I don't grow beards.
They grow beards. Don't lie.
No, I grow stubbles. But then again, I think did I talk to you about this before?
No.
How beards are genetic within like okay, so there's a theory out there. I'm just gonna segue a little bit. Fuck that, because this is more interesting topic than Ahsoka right now. There is a theory out there why there's people, Asian in specifically, why some Asians can actually grow a long beard and like a real nice stubble beard. Not stubble, I mean like a nice like beard, right?
A
And majority
manly beard.
yeah, and some Asians can't, right? So essentially, what it is that it's a generational thing, right? Fucking Charles Darwin and all that stuff. Generations in your DNA, like centuries of generations in your DNA. Somewhere along time, my ancestors, um, essentially were. I'm gonna use me as an example. My ancestors were not warriors because back then warriors tend to have beards, like big beards and everything. And the reason why they have big beards like that is because when they get into combat and you get punched in the face, the beard actually acts as a cushion, so the hit isn't as bad as if it was a shaved face. Does that make sense? Like there's a little bit of a cushion, not a lot, but there's a little bit of a cushion. That's why warriors tend to have like big beards and everything, right? That's true with the Scandinavians and the Vikings and all that stuff, right? They have big beards, right? Now, with other Asians that don't grow that much beards, they're not warriors technically. They're just like sidelines. The ones who can't grow beard, chances are, didn't come in a long dynasty of warriors, probably just like servants. Me, on the other hand, the way my goatee and my mustache grows, it seems like my ancestors were, how should I put this? They're like the ball boys of
That
of
doesn't
Battlefield.
sound good at all.
No, it does not. They're like the ball boys of like the of war. So essentially, if somebody's like some one big fucking husky warrior goes, it's like to my shield, boy, my shield and my armor.
Boy.
I'm that boy who gives my ancestors were that boy who were giving that shield and armor to that warrior. That's why I have somewhat of a beard because my ancestors were in the battlefield but weren't fighting in the battlefield. They were like just handing over the weapons, right? So that's and then the ones who don't have a beard whatsoever, they're the one who stayed home. Their ancestors stayed home and just avoided conflict. So that was the theory in there. It's just a generational kind of thing. That's why you never really grew a beard because like the more that you shave it, and they just kind of shave it and shave it and shave it and shave it, and then it just gets passed down in your DNA. That's how basic how it goes. It's kind of like the same way as like if you're afraid of dogs. Are you afraid of dogs? You're not afraid of dogs.
No, I love dogs.
Okay, you're not afraid of dogs because somewhere along the line that your generation never had to run away from dogs or never were bitten by dogs. Where my generation, I'm afraid of dogs because that's a generational fear that gets passed down to centuries and decades. Because somewhere along the line in my DNA, probably my ancestors were massacred by dogs. So we were
They were
always
massacred by dogs.
yeah, we're massacred by dogs. So essentially, that fear gets passed down to generation to the generation, that when every time I see a dog now, I'll be like, oh fuck, I'm gonna get bitten by a dog. That's basically how that works. That's
See,
it.
this is how it worked for us. This is why, a dog would bite us, we would bite them back. It's a dog eat dog world. All right.
So that's why you see like a lot of Europeans descent grows a lot of beard, is because
So they have armor on their face, is what you're trying to say.
well, no, because if you just have to look at it from like you just have to look at like centuries of history. The Europeans go to war, Greek, Spartans, and all that stuff. They always go to war, so they always have those big beards and stuff. Yeah, so it's generic, it's genetic kind of thing, and generational fear and all that stuff. That's why you'll see like a lot of Asians will have like that long ass beard and all that stuff in there because they were literally warriors in their time. That's why they can grow that shit, right? So along the line somewhere, I just never my ancestors just never like fucking fought in a war and shit.
I
So
just want to say,
and there were studies with it too.
I,
There's studies on it too.
beards were never armor. So I
No,
want to
no.
say,
What I'm saying is that you like for us to think that beard is armor is basically is essentially the most ridiculous thought ever. But centuries and centuries and centuries ago, that wasn't the thought at all. Because if you had a beard, you had that really fuzzy cushion. So they had that mentality that it was. That's why they grew a beard. That's what I'm trying to say. What seems ridiculous to us now is basically what makes sense centuries and centuries and centuries ago. Right?
well,
It's the same thing as like our viewpoints on religion, right? Like we say that there's Egyptian mythology, but at some point in time, Egyptian mythology wasn't Egyptian mythology. It was a religion. Do you know what I mean?
yeah, it was
But
fact for them.
it was facts, but then it just kind of got watered down throughout time into just from religion to fucking mythology now,
And then
right?
Khonshu, he had to
Yeah.
find the Moon Knight warrior.
Yeah. So all those, yeah, exactly. All those things, right? Because if you look at like Egyptian mythology or Egyptian religion, whatever, there's correlation with Catholic religion and all that stuff too, as well, Judaism and all that stuff, right? But now, since it's been passed down through centuries and decades and generations, it's still considered as religion nowadays, right? What if it was the other way around and those religions that we knew now wasn't passed down to generations? It would have been a mythology, and then Egyptian would have been a religion. Does that make sense?
Yes. Well, speaking of religions, apparently, Jedi is an actual religion in Europe, if memory serves me correct.
Yeah, see, there you go. So see, generational shit, right? Because now at some point in time, somebody said that Jedi is a religion and it just got passed down through decades, right? Since Star Wars first came out in 1970s, right?
77.
77, and somebody said, I think this could be a fucking religion, and that whoever that is, he fucking passed it down in his DNA decades and decades later that there's a religion, and all of a sudden it just kind of grew to like, yeah, it's a real religion now.
And that family was George Lucas's family.
So essentially that's basically how like I view a lot of things. That's why I'm very optimistic on a lot of I have a different view now. I'm like
Well, you definitely have a different view on beards than I do. That's
yeah,
for
well,
sure.
no, I'm the type of person that just like to read shit. I'm like, oh, that's fucking interesting. I never do that. It's kind of like the same thing as like, if I were to ask you this old question, and there's only one right answer in this question, by the way. It's just it's just how you explain it, right?
Okay.
It's kind of like the Harvard test. I'll tell you the Harvard test later. But if I were to say, Nate, um, if I were to take you to a deserted island, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Deserted island, you're just by yourself in there, right? If I'm gonna get you stuck in a deserted island, if you were gonna get stuck in a deserted island and you can only bring one item, what would it be?
A
Like,
plane to get me off the island.
so what you would say? What?
Probably something to create fire.
Something to create fire, right? Great. Here's the funny thing. Every time somebody says that, every time somebody gives you that question, everyone says, well, they say fire or clothing or food, or the most popular ones, like I'm going to get a mirror so that I can shine the light on the plane that's passing by and all that stuff, and I can get rescued, right? Here's the funny thing. No one says the actual answer at all. Is that question is just a test on how your creative thinking is, right? Do you know what the actual answer is that makes 100% sense and nobody says? I'm not quite sure if you know what it is. Do you know
No,
what it is?
I don't. I never heard this question before.
A boat.
A boat to get off
No,
the island.
nobody says a boat, but they always say clothing, foods, mirrors, and all that stuff, right? They
I
always
mean,
say,
technically, I had the right answer too. Instead of saying
yeah,
boat, I just said a plane.
yeah, you said a plane, right? Something like that. Nobody will ever say those things, right? And that's how you fucking get off the island. But it's kind of like the Harvard test, like I mentioned before. The Harvard test is this. The story goes is that they this professor at the end of the year said, the beginning of the year said that he broke down what your points are, how your grade is going to be at, right?
Yeah.
And then when the students were looking at the grade structure and how it's going to be graded, there was at the very end of it, it says that they're going to take one test at the very end, and it's going to be worth 50%.
Oof.
50% of your grade. Like you can do fucking all this and still fail,
That
right?
sucks.
But this one question is 50%. So people studied all year, right? All year, everything that they could in their subject. Is philosophy, by the way. Philosophy subject and all that stuff. They started all they can just to prepare for that 1 year project. And then the professor handed them one sheet of paper, and there is one
One
question in
question.
that thing. You know what that question was?
The one you just asked, obviously.
No, the question was why?
Oh yeah, you had to debate why, I guess.
And then people just looking at this and they're writing pages after pages of why, and they were saying all this stuff and all that and all this thing. And at the end, and this probably an urban legend, but at the end, apparently there's only one person who answered it correctly. And you know what the answer was?
It was because I don't know.
The answer they put was, why not?
That's great.
That's it. That was it. He got fucking like 100% of that test passed, and everyone else had to fucking retake it.
Wow.
So, well, not retake it, but like explain why and all that stuff, right? So it was a philosophy one. So I don't know how true that was, but yeah, it's the exact same way. So, but yeah, anyways, all that thing that we just talked about in the last fucking 10 minutes are far more fucking interesting than what happened in Ahsoka.
What happened in Ahsoka?
I fucking don't
Oh,
know.
nothing. Sorry. No,
Fucking
I'm just
nothing.
kidding.
Um,
A lot happened in Ahsoka. I will say that a lot happened. I feel like for Ahsoka, I felt like this show is like me. I've seen Rebels. I've seen everything Star Wars for the most part, live action and animated,
mhm,
except I haven't seen Resistance. That's the only thing I haven't seen.
mhm.
But I feel like the show, even watching it, while I was watching it, the only thing I could think of is how disconnected people who haven't seen the animated shows are going to be from these people and not fully grasp the weight of the connections. And I felt it when uh, even when we first meet Ezra. I'm like, these people are probably looking at this guy like, "Oh," like we've been looking for this guy, but like,
Yeah.
why? What's so big about that? You know what I mean?
The funny thing is that if you are brand new to Ahsoka and you've never seen it, you'd be like, oh yeah, I'm probably gonna just watch this and then watch Rebels after I watch Ahsoka. Yeah, you're more than welcome to do that. It's just gonna fucking disappoint you because now
Yeah.
you're gonna go back to it and you're just like, well, Ahsoka was garbage
Yeah.
because
They'll like think the other shows are better.
yeah, the other shows were better. Rebels was better, and this is better. You're gonna be saying like, why didn't they end it the way that they ended Rebels? Right? That would have been nice. That would have been nice. The way Rebels ended, it has an ending to it. They explain where everybody else. Like I said this before, I think it was in episode 6 of the show, or episode 7. I said it before. At least when Rebel ended, there was an explanation of what happened to those characters after. There's no explanation of what happened to these characters right now after this fucking show.
I mean, I get it. They wanted a cliffhanger, but I felt like the cliffhanger just landed flat.
Well, like I said before, this isn't even a cliffhanger at all. I said it before in episode 7 that cliffhanger episode 8 of our review. I said it before. A cliffhanger is what happened in Back to the Future. In Back to the Future, Marty came back to 1985, and then it says to be continued. Right? I mean, 1955. So 1955, right? There was a resolution. Marty went back to 1985, all that stuff, and then in 19, and then for some reason he's still back in 1955. That's a cliffhanger. That is a cliffhanger.
To
Right?
defend it, originally, that wasn't the ending. The ending was him going back, and that was it. They re-released Back to the Future when they decided they were going to do part 2 and 3, and they added that end scene in because that end scene is at I believe, the beginning of the second movie.
Yeah,
So originally, it wasn't
the beginning
in the
of
first
well,
movie.
the beginning of the third movie. The third movie, the way the second Back to the Future 2 ended, the beginning of the third movie was the ending of Back to the Future 2.
No, that's not what I'm saying. If you watch the original ending to Back to the Future 1, the one that was in theaters, or not the original, but the original in the VHS or whatever, Marty comes in. He's like, Doc. He's like, Marty. He's freaking out. He's like, I thought I sent you back to the future. You did, but I'm back. Back from where? Back from the future. And then it ends.
That's Back to the Future 2.
No, that's 1 because
that's
he went
2,
back.
Nate. That is 2. How Back to the Future 1 ended. It ended, and it was the beginning of Back to the Future 2. Doc came back from the future and said, "You gotta come back with me. It's about your kids, Marty. It's your kids." That's Back to the Future 1. That's how Back to the Future 1 ended. Back to the Future 2 ended the way that you just described it. And then and then he had to send him back to 1985. But then he found a note. He got a note from UPS. Remember, UPS gave him a note in the middle of the road. That's why instead of going back to 1985, he went to 1855. And that's where the doc from 1955 sent him the second time around. He sent him to 1885. That's how Back to the Future 2 ended. What you describe as Back to the Future 2 ended. Back to the Future 1 ended. He came back from 2015 and said, "You gotta come back with me." He's like, "Where?" "Back to the Future. It's your kids, Marty. It's your kids." And then he flew. Yeah, Nate.
That man. Now I'm really wrong here. I gotta rewatch. Well, either way, the first movie's ending was different because originally it was just supposed to end and that was it. There wasn't supposed to be that whole we gotta go anywhere else. Either way, what I'm trying to get at is that the ending was not originally
what I'm trying to get
that was there.
What I'm trying to get at is go watch Back to the Future Part 1 and 2. So to get the taste of Ahsoka out of your fucking mouth.
Either way, I'm saying that how it originally was supposed to end was different. That's all.
Fuck, I'll even go as far as watching fucking Howard the Duck just to get this fucking taste off your mouth. And that was a fucking horrible George Lucas film.
I've never seen the movie.
Don't.
I'm not going to. I've heard so much about it.
That was his follow-up for fucking Return of the Jedi. That's how horrible it was.
He had nothing better to do.
Yeah, he had nothing better to do. But anyways, tell us what you guys really think, man, and tell us how you don't think that we know what we're talking about, even though I just made a fucking point of it.
Apparently, I don't know what I'm talking about as far as it goes.
As far as as far as it goes with Back to the Future, Nate doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about. He's gonna go back and watch the ending of episode 1 of Back to the Future 1 and 2 just to see how did this fucking happen. He's having a Shazam moment right now. He's like, "What's Sinbad in Shazam? Like, what the fuck's going on?"
That's
in here?
Kazam.
Kazam. He's having a Mandela effect right now. Yes. So, but let us know what you guys think. Stay tuned. Next week, we're gonna be reviewing episode 1 and 2 of Loki. because again, Nate's not going to be around this weekend. He's going to watch episode 2 of Loki this week, but we won't be able to review episode 1 and 2 until next week. So, but just to talk about a little bit on Loki. Fuck, man, episode 1 was amazing. Fucking great. That is what great writing looks like. That is where you stay tuned every week, and every week when it comes, he goes, and every time you watch the episodes, like, when the fuck is the next episode coming? That is how it's done, boys. That's how it's done. So
Took Marvel long enough.
so that's literally how it's done, man. So anyways, until then, thank you for watching, guys. That my set is gonna change, so this is not what you guys are gonna see anymore. It's gonna be nice. I'm in the middle of renovating my studio, so hopefully on the next episode of We Got Issues, not this coming one because that one's already recorded, I'm just editing it now. On the next episode of We Got Issues, possibly by next month, and when Nate comes back, you guys get to see the new set and what it's gonna look like. So stay tuned to that. Nate, any final words from people?
You're gonna like this one.
Uh,
I hate manure.
I hate manure. Oh my god. Anyways, you guys could have been anywhere in the world, but you're here with us. I really appreciate that. Until then, we will see you guys in 2 weeks. Well, me and Nate will see you guys in 2 weeks.